Your guiding light is all I know. Through wood and steel, through fire and lace, I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Is to a throig arcane. You laid the path before me. You guided every step. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sure? We'll build the land, our hearts within. From dawn till dusk, I work, I strive. With your blessing, I'll survive. The loom, the forge, the sword, the grain in your name, I rise again. Got Buddha, got Tolan, got Trio. In you lies strength, in you lies skill. Each victory, each talent, each trial. No task too great, no skill too small. Your gifts, dear goddess, guide us all. Into force. Without your light, we have no guide, but with your hand, our place abides. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sore? To find it and tear, our greatest deed. By the grace of the goddess we are free. We'll build the land, our hearts within. I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Blessed by her grace, forever, forever.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pax Dei, Search for Steel. Tonight, we will be doing ethics. And let me give you a proper introduction. I'm your host, and the avatar is Empire, who is searching for steel, mind you. So today we're doing philosophy, leadership, and life. We journey through time. In episode 2, that's the series. In episode 2, we'll be exploring two huge interconnected questions. What are ethics? And what is the nature of the good life? In other words, how should we live? In our previous episode, we examined wisdom, what it is, and how it's been defined across cultures. Today, we build on that foundation by exploring ethics, the principles that govern our actions, and how these ideas help us define a well-lived life. Over the next 2 hours, and a little bit of combat with broken speeches, because everybody needs combat. Oh, there's 2 up here. might be noticing that I'm using an axe. Yes. Yes, I am. And it does a lot of damage on the third swing. I'm surprised there's not two up here, which means I'm going to encounter one while I'm doing my lumbering. A chore many of us Pax Deians, Galleons, I'm in Gale, must do in order to survive, or at least progress through the world. That'd be fair. So over the next 2 hours, we'll define what ethics is, right? Concept of the good life from scratch. We're starting at the foundation. And the reason I like to do that is because a lot of us take these terms for granted, right? We know what it means, but let's get on the same page. Let's talk about the same subjects. We'll explore classical, modern, and Eastern perspectives because I like the world philosophers. I just don't want to pick and choose from certain or only regions exclusive, right? So it's very important to me that we divvy up all of the credits to wiser men and women than I will ever be. We'll also look at empirical studies that link ethical behavior to well-being. And we'll discuss applications in leadership, work, and even our gaming community, or communities, depending on how many games. I understand that as we're still growing our channel, the chat might be quiet, and that's perfectly fine. I encourage you to simply listen and reflect, and if you feel like sharing a thought or two, even if it's just for your own clarity, feel free to type it in. So let's dive in to what ethics actually means. Let's start with the basic definition of ethics. Ethics is a branch of philosophy concerned with the questions about what is right and wrong, what constitutes a good or bad life, and what moral principles should guide our behaviors. It's sometimes called moral philosophy, while morality refers to the everyday norms and the values that govern behavior. Ethics is the systematic study of those moral choices. So let's clarify it. For example, when we ask, is it wrong to lie? Ethics isn't just about whether we lie or not. It's about understanding the principles, the consequences, and the reasons behind why we might be lying, which might be harmful or acceptable in some contexts. And I'll take a moment to stock up on my coal. Interesting. And of course, I need one new fit day. Okay. Try to, that's fine. See if I have a, wooden. That didn't do anything. There we go. No hardwoods in here. No hardwoods in here. Oh. Am I going to be -1 hardwood? All I need is 100. That's all I need. I have one in here. 41. That's not good. Need a 50. That's empty. Interesting. Wait. Okay. All right. Well, that looks like I'm going out for more hardwood. One more hardwood. Okay, 50 more. Technically. All right. So now, what do we mean by the good life? In philosophy, This phrase generally refers to a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, and flourishing. The ancient Greeks, for example, they used the term. I'm reading from my notes. Eudaimonia, to describe a state of flourishing where a person lives in accordance with virtue and realizes their full potential. Yeah, I'm just not on today. It's not just about pleasure. What some call a hedonic life or hedonic life, maybe. But about living in a way that's ethically and emotionally rich. So very, very important to understand those definitions. And I think it's worth, because I screwed up my notes. Let's look at this good life again. So it's in philosophy, this phrase generally refers to a life that is fulfilling, meaningful, and flourishing. All right, the good life. Different than what we are used to hearing marketing tell us what the good life is. If you look at advertisements, right? Is stuff fulfilling, meaningful, and flourishing? You might have one out of the three, but you should have all of the three, right? For a good life. So let's begin with Aristotle. Aristotle's concept of virtue ethics is the cornerstone of Western thought. Arguably, right? He argued that a good life, or Eudaimonia, is achieved by practicing virtues. Character traits like courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. That's a mouthful, isn't it? There we go. All right, now we're done. We're done with the charcoal stuff. Now we gotta go. This chest. And I should start some arrow stuff. I think I got enough that I can try to make a decent bow. Or get my fletching up a level. And you'll be here to see it. I might have some iron that I can smelt, so let's go do that while we're talking about air stuff. You might not. I got a lot of iron yesterday, so I might not have any to smelt edges. How about one? Remember always to repair your equipment. Pro tip. Before you put it away. Because when you want to use it and it's not repaired, you just pull it out. I've made so much of this because I'm trying to level my blacksmithing as well. Might not be, I actually have a place to put it. Oh, cool. I'll probably get some more. It's going to take more than this just to level up. Ah. Alright. I will. And then I'll get that. You're right back to Aristotle's. I mean it. Virtue is very important. Put that here for now. Okay. Looking back at the notes, that's why I have to do this. So, courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. Aristotle believed that the virtues are habits that can be developed through practice, and that living well involves finding the balance between the extremes. For instance, courage is the mean between recklessness and cowardice. Virtue, for Aristotle, isn't just about following the rules, it's about developing a character that naturally leads to flourishing. And I want to kind of back up on one of those things, because many people aren't up with the math terms, right? The mean between recklessness and cowardice is the average. You want to be reckless, but you also, well, it's kind of going back to the point of know when to fight, know when to run away, right? Recklessness and cowardice. Know when and how to do it on either end of the spectrum. So the mean, the average between. Aristotle stated, quote, the good man, or the good for man, is an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. Modern research in positive psychology, such as the work by Martin Seligman on character strengths, echoes this idea. Cultivating virtues leads to greater life satisfaction and well-being. It's interesting when we talk about, and I'll take a pause here before I go to Plato. It's interesting how people say, know yourself, right? Know yourself. Be good with yourself. No, be comfortable with yourself. And this is why I started the series, but they don't talk about virtue at all. I knew a couple of friends that honor is above all else, and they lived that statement, and to them, that virtue it was antithetical to some of the success they could have derived. Well, how so, you ask? I'll tell you. Some of them were so honorable that they walked away from the very prize they sought. Or if they didn't seek it, they understood that their honor was worth more to them, right, than the object that they were being tempted by. You know, what does that mean? Well, let's pretend you have honor. Yourself, right? We're talking about yourself right now. You have honor. And say, would an honorable person be a philanderer? Knowing what we know so far tonight, you would say no. To have honor, you respect yourself and you respect the other, right? The person that you're attracted to, even, right? So even though you have the opportunity, you would walk away. And that is the honorable thing to do. But knowing yourself puts you in a position where that doesn't feel bad. That is the right decision in your mind. That is a great virtue, right? Honor. I will state that certain virtues taken to the extreme will be detrimental to your well-being, to your flourishing, to your good life. The extremes are always a bad place to be. No matter what it is, if you think about it. If I drink all the time, to the extreme, I'm an alcoholic. It makes sense, right? It's not good to be an alcoholic. It's not virtuous to be an alcoholic. So the virtue is drink in moderation. Again, recklessness and cowardice, the mean between the two. It's a good measure, I think. Let's see, but Plato, who is Aristotle's teacher, by the way, offered another perspective, probably a first perspective. In dialogues like the Republic, Plato discussed the idea of justice and the role of the philosopher, a ruler who understands the form of the good and guides society accordingly. For Plato, true knowledge of the good is necessary for ethical action. His allegory of the cave illustrates how people live in the world of shadows until they pursue true enlightenment. Ethical living then requires an understanding of the higher forms of truth and justice. I can't overstate this. Not only know yourself, but you have to have a right and a wrong line. In practical terms, a leader who seeks the knowledge and truth, or who seeks knowledge and truth, who isn't content with surface level answers, can guide a community or organization toward a more ethical and flourishing existence. Empirical research in leadership, such as studies on transformational leadership, has shown that leaders who focus on a vision and ethical behavior inspire greater commitment and performance among their followers. Leader who seeks truth and knowledge. Yesterday, we talked about critical thinking. We talked about wisdom and the seekers of truth and knowledge. We always want to strive in our everyday for the truth and knowledge of it. Is it difficult? Yes. Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. We need to question things. I think it's not only human nature, but everything. Don't think that just because we have these truths, maybe? Good word, maybe? No. Don't think just because we have all this knowledge or access to knowledge, maybe, might be a better way of putting it. We're bombarded with information all day. And if we don't take the time to assess that knowledge, we are going to go down a road that we might not want to go down, right? There we go. I went down here knowing there's no room. There we go. All right. Now that I got the housekeeping out of the way, maybe we'll go get some liquor, my wine, and brewing. I think it is. Would change if we could only change it in real life backward. We had transporters. Star Trek. Wouldn't that be a waste of Star Trek technology? What are you doing? I'm using it to change. Thank you very much. I'll be here until Tuesday. Tip the waitress. Try to be. Alright. So in practical terms, a leader who seeks truth and knowledge, remember that. Truth and knowledge are the key. Who isn't content with surface level answers. If I remember correctly, Aristotle was the one who stated, it might have been Plato, his student, But there was, I think one of the two, they kept asking why. Why? And in doing so, they would get below the surface level answers. So, very interesting how we can put these things together. And part of this channel is don't leave me. Go do your research. Ask the questions. Look to other people. All sources of information. Know people have bias. Know yourself having bias. Look at each piece of information with that lens. So, moving forward in time, Immanuel Kant, I think that's how you pronounce the thing, brought a technological approach to ethics. Kant argued that morality is grounded in duty, and that one should act accordingly to the principles that can be universally applied. I'm trying to get a cadence here because these are really long points that I want you to absorb it as much as possible without having to hit the rewind button. So, Kant's famous categorical imperative states. Categorical imperative, he stated, quote, act only according to that maxim whereby you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. Yeah, I forget when he was alive, but jeez, I think he was very, very flowery, right? So let me read that quote again. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. In simple terms, before you act, ask yourself, what if everyone did this? If the result is unacceptable, then the action isn't ethical. It's a good measure. It's a tool in the toolbox, right? Clarification. Let me clarify that. Kant believed that our intentions matter just as much as the outcomes of our actions. This had a huge influence on modern rights and justice. Huge influence. As a matter of fact, the United States, most of the law will begin with intent. You have to meet the criteria of intent before the law can be broken. In many, many, many different criminal statutes. If not all, if I So there is a utilitarianism, the consequences and the greatest happiness principle. So let's go over that. Again, all of these are tools in our toolbox. On the other side of the spectrum, utilitarianism, championed by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, this approach defines the good life in terms of consequences. Specifically, actions are ethical if they produce the greatest happiness for the greatest number. While Kant focuses on the duty regardless of the outcomes, utilitarianism evaluates the morality of the action by their results. This theory raises challenging questions about how we measure happiness and whose happiness counts. Contemporary research in moral psychology, such as experiments involving the trolley problem, I think everybody knows the trolley problem, has shown that people's moral intuitions can vary widely when faced with decisions that pit duty against outcomes. This field is rich with debates that continue to shape our understanding of ethics today. We can go into the greater good, right? And honestly, I'm not a utilitarian. I don't believe I am. Is there a point, and I'll ask myself the question, is there a point where I become a utilitarian? Like I said, it's a tool, right? My fundamental foundational belief in my ethical belief, I never liked the trolley problem. It's kind of like the Kobayashi Maru in Star Trek. I don't like to be pitted in an unwinnable situation. That's as simple as it gets. I don't like it. I don't think that's fair. Well, no one said life's fair, but I don't think if you make the decisions up to a certain point in your life, if you make certain decisions, will that utilitarian tool ever be needed? Right? So is ethics, my ethics on utilitarianism, I would say for the majority, no. The majority outcome, there is no way I'm a utilitarian. This ain't gonna happen. For the majority. Like I said, there's always a circumstance that might yield or might necessitate the need for becoming a utilitarian. I haven't found it yet. And I'd like to think that there's no way I would do it. But it's possible. Oh, Martin. This is how you make alcohol. Pax Dei. Yeah, of course you need water. Water is always a... Oh, I can't take it in because I'm full up on malt. Okay. We'll put some malt back. I need more yeast. Yeast is made by... What's yeast made by? Say... Not barley. Yeast is made by rye, maybe? Rye flour? I'd have to go get some after this. I'm going to use the cloudy ale base, but little pro tip, anytime you start in on a project, make sure that you that's what you need. So this is what I'm going to make. I need cloudy ale. And like any video game, cloudy ale base. That's the one you're looking at. Cloudy ale base. Why? That name is specific. So it's a variable within the code, right? So there we go. I should be able to get quite a bit of this. I'm hoping. What am I missing? Malt. Of course I'm missing malt. But malt seems to be not being able to be picked up. You know what? I'm going to do this. If you split this up, you can possibly use this in 29 minutes, but yeah, it seems a little out of reach, honestly. That's okay. We're okay because that's a tomorrow thing. I don't think I have barley flour, barley dough, grain. Barley grain is used from malt. As a matter of fact, you know what? I have the barley, so I'm going to use it. Make sure I have all of it, because I can make the malt out of it. Always know a baker in your game. Their food is rare, but not bad. It's not bad at all. Depending on the level of the baker. So keep that in mind. Not a lot, but barley's really hard. It's far for me to get. I shouldn't say it's hard to get. It's not hard. None of the things in here are hard to get. All right. Or anybody, even a first level character can do this. So that's utilitarianism. I don't know. In the chat or comments, does that utilitarianism? Can you argue for it, or does it leave a bad taste? Let's continue on the on this train, and we're gonna go to we're gonna shift our focus again to the Eastern philosophies. In Confucianism, ethics is deeply connected to social harmony and moral development. Confucius emphasized virtues such as ren, benevolence, or humaneness, and I think it's li, L-I, I think it's li, proper conduct or ritual propriety. For Confucius, the good life is achieved by fulfilling one's role within the family and society, acting with respect and empathy. He believed that ethical behavior isn't imposed from the outside, but cultivated through education and self-reflection. So how do we tie this to the model? In research, organizational behavior shows the workplace, or that workplaces emphasizing ethical cultures and social responsibility tend to foster better collaboration and job satisfaction. So interesting. Let's look at his two again: benevolence or humaneness, and proper conduct or ritual propriety. And then again, going back to the workplace, ethical cultures and social responsibilities tend to foster better collaboration and job satisfaction. It marries really well in today's world. And again, we're talking tools in a toolbox. We're not talking about solutions ad hominem, right? Trying to think of what I'm going to do next. Oh, I know it. I'm going to go upstairs. And, well, let's see how my tailoring's going. Alright, so I need to go get some stuff. So I took my traveling gear off too early. That's alright. For this, we will be using Grace, so any of those of you who play Pax Dei and want to know what the Grace system looks like, here you go. So, Grace was introduced about 2 weeks ago now, and what it does is the original menu was basically recovering your body or being traveling to your Pax Dei, your home goddess stone, if you will. Then they added crafting, so for every 10 grace the goddess gives you, you can up your level for 1 hour, and this gives you a better chance of succeeding where you may not have before. And then Grace Gathering, there's 4 big ones. You know, you have the gathering that I'm going to be using, or St. Hubert's minor favor, St. Lupus for the hunting, St. Gumaras for the woodcutting, and St. Barbara's minor favor for the mining. I do not have enough, so I will buy. I have 10, so that would be 80. Oh no, 10, so that would be 50. That'd be 60. So I'll do that. I have, I'm gonna have to kill people. So you offer the gold, you get the grace. I know, it's... Yeah. Things we teach in video games. With that said, we're gonna go gathering. So you can run more than one grace at a time. I wouldn't recommend it because you will run out of time. Focus on one thing at a time. And since I'm this close to the gathering spot, I just did it there. It's only like 20 seconds wasted, but wait for your grace if you want to. There used to be flax there that somebody built, so it's no longer there. All right, I used a little magic there as well. And we'll get back to our conversation. So we can keep both at the same time. This is nothing to do. All I do is picking up flax. All right, where are we? All right, so we shifted to Confucius, and we're going to shift further. In contrast to Confucius, you have Buddha, or the Buddhist philosophy, or Buddhist ethics, to be more precise, since we should keep on topic, right? So, ethical living means, Buddhist ethics, which also influences many Eastern traditions, emphasizes the middle path, the balanced approach to a life that avoids extremes. Buddhist teachings stress mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment. So I have been exercising the Buddhist philosophy here, playing Pax Dei, because after all this work I've put into it, before it goes to 1.0, guess what happens? Yeah, total wipe. Your character goes to 1, you lose everything. Maybe even your name. So we might not be coming back to an Emphyr. Emphyr might be somebody else. I hope Emphyr. I'm hoping I can get the name still. Emphyr's kind of weird. But that's a Buddhist philosophy. If I let that bother me, I wouldn't be virtuous. As a matter of fact, some of the Buddhist traditions that I remember when I've traveled into Asia, people would build stuff and then destroy it. Beautiful stuff, beautiful art, beautiful sculptures, and then they would destroy it. And this was to denote or emphasize the virtue of letting go. So, for many Buddhists, or I should say Buddhists in general, or let's just say all for now, it's a philosophy, right? So if you are practicing, you should follow this. Ethical living means acting in ways that reduce suffering for one's own self and others. That's pretty sweet if you think about it. The Eightfold Path provides practical guidelines for ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Modern research, particularly studies on mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSRs, my notes are great, developed by John Kabat-Zinn, or John Kabat-Zinn. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm going to be fighting here in a second, so let me grab this quote, because I have to look when I quote. That's the problem with accents. They're very smooth. They're smooth. Over here, this is all I'm going to do. Probably for the rest. If I'm going to get the excuse me, the tailoring up, I need flax or cotton, which is all the way on the southern part of the app. That would take forever. But so these MBSR studies developed by Jean-Kabat-Zinn shows that mindfulness practices can improve emotional regulation, reduce stress, and promote overall well-being. It's a testament to the enduring power of these ancient insights. It really is. If studies are providing evidence, science-based evidence, these actually are there's these things being accomplished by the act are doing these things. Well, let's look at these things one more time. Mindfulness practices. Well, what is a mindfulness practice? I encourage you to look that up. A lot of people think meditation is a mindfulness practice. Yeah, breathing, the mindfulness practice. Yep. Look them up. They're very wide-ranging, and there's different techniques. And there's always somebody saying that their technique's the best. But one of the things that you really should understand is, especially if you're Judeo-Christian or even Muslim, prayer is part of this. Is a mindfulness practice. So values or ethics for Buddhists are reducing suffering for yourself, and others. So a lot of people nowadays are talking relationships, and they're talking situationships, and whatever it is. Be mindful that you ethically should take care of yourself too, and the person that you're interacting with. Very important. The plain example is always used, right? You can't take care of everybody else if you're passed out on the seat next to you with the oxygen, just sitting there, right? And it's very true. It's a true statement. A lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's very, take care of yourself. And a lot of good advice is coming out of relationships, or what's a better word for it? I want to say relationship coaches, because that's not what I'm looking for. When you're given guidance on the internets, people will now say, hey, before you enter a relationship, make sure you're okay, right? Don't bring any baggage to the relationship. And if they have baggage, it's not your place, or not. It's not up to you to fix them. They need to fix themselves and bring themselves. Well, that's a Buddhist philosophy, if you think about it. Pretty cool, right? And I did not want to stop running. I missed my key. Okay. So how do these philosophical theories translate into our modern lives is the question, right? Especially in work and in leadership. Well, ethical leadership means leading by example, making decisions that reflect fairness, transparency, and responsibility. A lot of people will say lead by example, and then they will give you an excuse why they can't lead by example. Well, I'm going to say right now, they got to check themselves. For example, let's go. Research by Brown, Trevino, and Harrison in 2005. They did a study, research, right? that ethical leadership in organizations leads to increased employee trust and engagement. We mentioned this before, earlier, right? When leaders model ethical behavior, they create a culture where employees are likely to act ethically themselves. And it makes sense. Birds of a feather is a how should I say it? Is a saying, right? And we as individuals, or we as a society, have come to know that, and it makes sense. Right? Birds of a feather. So if the whole organization is ethical, more than likely, and the leader's ethical, more than likely everybody will be ethical, because nobody wants to be left out, right? Well, not only that, there's social pressures, and that's one aspect to it. But the other is understanding and being praised for what's right or what's accepted feels good. And we're better to make that point in social media. So ethical problems or principles aren't confined to boards, right? They extend into our personal lives and even in our digital and gaming communities. For example, fair play in MMORPGs and adherence to community guidelines reflect ethical values such as honesty, respect, and collaboration. It makes a whole lot of sense. So what's that connection to the good life? Well, in both real life and virtual environments, ethical behavior. I got too close. That's all right. Not a problem. Dispatched within seconds. Still trying to. I don't even think my axe is that good. Let's see. Axe. Combat skills. I'm only at 16. I got a long way to go. Alright. That's okay. This, like I said, this game is it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're not gonna get any yielded results for power quickly. I have one more fight and then I'll continue my ethical connection to a good one. That spell is so long. There we go. Speaking of level 17 axes, I think I just made it. I didn't think I was that close, though. Nope. What went up then? I heard something go up, but I'm not sure what it was. We'll continue at it. Since we have the blessing, we're gonna gather lots. That is the goal. Once I'm away from this cliff, I can look at my notes and we can continue our conversation in the good light. Oh, I did survive the fall next to the my house cliff. Yeah, it's not good. I took 180 some points of damage. Not enough to kill me. I had like 3 left or something, so 186 maybe I did. Crazy. I was like, woo! I don't have to run all the way back from the Stella. When you're playing Pax Dei as religiously as I am, that's a good thing. For those of you who are listening because you like good content and ethical in this series. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sometimes we deviate to the game, sometimes we don't. I don't know if he's attacking the core or he's going for the resource. I think that's Varian. That's Frostmeat, so he must be hunting. That's alright. I don't know Frostmeat. If I see him, I'll give him a wave real quick before I start my conversation. Yeah, he's already gone. Wow, he was really going. He must need some hunting going on. Skinny. And we attacked before. There he is. We'll give him a wave. How he's doing the tree thing. I don't know Frostmeat. You get to know people on your server. But this one I'm not familiar with it. Alright, so in both environments, we want to trust, we want to foster collaboration, and ultimately we want to contribute to a sense of meaning and well-being. And why? Because we want the good life. The good life is when we all have advantage from these things. So we gain them, all of us, everybody, right? So if you think about building trust, right? The ethical behavior builds trust. Well, yeah, it depends on the virtue that most people will. I think everyone would agree that most people look at other people and go, "Man, he's a stand-up person," or "She's a stand-up person." That's pretty rare, right? So we tend to collaborate more. We tend to flock to them, or at least go into their circle of friends, or we try to work for them, or if we don't work for them, if they're working in another team, when we do interact with that team, we enjoy that time with that person, right? Because our needs for a good life are met, and we're comfortable. All right, let's see. Back to the notes. All right, now let's connect these philosophical perspectives. After I get up here and start. Okay. So to do anything like this, pro tip, just have a basket next to something, just lose one of them, and then craft what you need to craft. Okay. Let's connect the philosophical perspectives to the modern empirical research on well-being. Researchers often differentiate between the hedonic well-being. They focus on pleasure and comfort, and the eudaimonic well-being, which is about meaning, self-realization, and living in accordance with one's virtues. So Carl Reif research on psychology, psychological well-being, and Martin Seligman's PERMA model, positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement, PERMA. Both emphasize that ethical behavior and a sense of purpose are crucial for deep, lasting happiness. Another useful framework is self-determination theory, developed by Deci and Ryan, which posits that autonomy, competence, and relatedness are key to personal fulfillment. Living ethically often enhances these qualities. By aligning our actions with our core values, we become more autonomous and connected to those around us. Unquote, by the way. All right. So, all these studies have also indicated that individuals with strong moral identity and those who see ethical values as central to who they are tend to report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. This supports the idea that ethics is not just about external behavior, but internal well-being. I think intuitively we know that. We do studies and research not to prove something out, but to give us another piece of the puzzle. Some might be anecdotal, but the puzzle is still being put together. So one or two studies might align with you, or you might relate to them, but you have to read the study. I said this in an earlier podcast, probably one of my first ones, because studies were looked at like by everybody, and this study says, this, and this study says this, and you would read the study, and it's like, no, and the study didn't conclude that at all. Why would you report that? So I would highly recommend, if you can get a hold of the study, to read the study that is being cited. And please don't think physics studies or some kind of scientific study is going to go over your head. It won't. As a matter of fact, you can put that study into a GPT, have it summarize for you, and literally prompt it to say, summarize this as if I were an 8th grader. And it'll summarize it for you. Now, I'm not saying GPTs are the end all be all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I will still read the study to ensure the comprehension of the GPT is somewhat correct, at least on what I'm reading. I might not know, the formulas or the math involved in the study, and I wouldn't ask that of a GPT anyway. Like, don't explain that to me. Just explain. Just explain how this is okay, right? Wow, they've already filled these up. Are you kidding me? What do we do prevent it from going into a test? All right. Maybe we'll go get some cotton board after this. It's far to the south. All right. So I might do another series on studies. This series is on wisdom, so let's stick to it. So let's summarize what we've explored so far. Ethics, the systematic study of right and wrong, which guides our actions. The good life, a fulfilling, meaningful life, often defined as Eudaimonia, where we flourish through virtue and purpose. Philosophical perspectives from Aristotle, virtue ethics, and Plato's pursuit of the truth. We went to Kant, duty-based ethics. We even touched on utilitarianisms and their consequences, or the consequence of utilitarianism, and Eastern approaches that emphasize harmony and mindfulness. Modern research, empirical studies from positive psychology and self-determination theory that show ethical living correlates with higher well-being. So we've gone through all of this on ethics, and put in the chat or in the comments if you are employed by if your employer has a yearly ethics lesson, a code of business ethics lesson for you, I will raise my hand. Mine does. It reminds me of certain business ethics that we should apply. It's interesting when I talk to people. It doesn't have to be in my company, but it's anybody. They're like, I take this ethics thing. I know it right from wrong. Yep. 90% of us do. And then there's the utilitarian approach. Well, as long as it's for the good of the company, I can bend ethics. You see why I don't like utilitarians? Or the concept of the philosophy. Remember, the overall happiness of the group is more important than the overall happiness of the individual. Yeah, ethics is a big topic, especially when you're trying to apply it to wisdom. Why? Think about it. If I'm being insightful or I'm applying wisdom, right? It goes to it should go to state that I am bound by ethics, meaning I'm creating this wisdom, knowing or having systematically gone through what is right and what is wrong, critically thinking through things, asking questions. Always ask questions, even with ethics. Even with your own ethics. Remember, your ethics are born from your values, which are born from your experiences, which are instilled in you when you're young or in major life events. For example, the birth of a child, your child, not just any child, but the birth of your child will change your perspective on the world, not to any great degree, or I'm going to say it could, but what I'm talking about in light of this conversation is it could change your worldview fundamentally. So ethics is important. Values are important. The wisdom that you are going to come up with is important. What do I mean by you come up with? We can rely on the philosophers. Perhaps there's nothing that would prevent me from saying, yeah, go study Aristotle, right? It's not a slight. Oh, and I would actually encourage you to learn Greek to do it. Why would you do that? Because any philosophers need a tongue, because that's what they wrote in. And I know that, or I say that knowing that Chinese is so hard. So, I'll give you that one. But it's still useful, right? To try to do it. I don't know if I want to get more of this wax while I have the time. Yeah, might as well, since I'm already on the timer, right? One of the things that I also want to question in this, something I put together today, is I struggled with the word happiness. Happiness is really, that's a heavy term. There's Eastern philosophies where you don't want to be happy, you want to be content. Is that a better way of stating it instead of happiness? When we attain happiness, well, let's say it this way. Knowing the word happiness, right? how should I say this? Let's say it this way. If there's happiness, there has to be sadness. Otherwise, happiness wouldn't be known. Contentment, I would argue, is the same way. You don't have to be content all the time, right? And you wouldn't know contentment if you weren't not content. So maybe I'm arguing the wrong, or maybe I'm pointing out the wrong terminology. Maybe happiness is the right terminology. We certainly want more happiness than sadness, right? And to attain happiness, let me say it a different way. Did you ever feel happy when you went against your beliefs and or ethics? I know I have. I felt terrible. I felt like even if I didn't get in trouble or anything, that's not the point I'm making. I don't like it. It feels. It's the icky, right? And that's I think that's one of the biggest things that can't be understood. That shouldn't be understood. Ethics is important. I think everybody should either research ethics to a greater degree than what we're doing, because we're just using it as a second show or a second podcast, right? In actuality, I could probably do an ethics series as a whole, but this one it's a wisdom series, right? Actually, a long time ago, I did create T-shirts because I had wrote for LinkedIn about wisdom of the ancients, right? And how that should be applied to business. And I didn't sell it. That's not why I did it. But I was hoping, right? Especially since I had a following on LinkedIn, I still do. And if you do get an opportunity, go ahead and check out those articles, and I think you'll have a pretty good understanding of the wisdom into leadership. And that's the important part, because we're going to culminate the series into how can we use all of this to be a better leader, to be a better person, to play a better game. It always interested me when I play games. People could take it's interested me that there was an evil path, but from the coders, right? Developers. But I was wondering if you did a study on people who actually took the evil path, would they play as long of hours? It'd be interesting to find out, right? Like, I'll play this game because I'm happy, content, even if I'm doing quote unquote chores all day. I do chores at home, but this one is I'm showing a little bit of advancement. In this case, I'm talking on a podcast. But for the most part, I'm not evil, right? I don't go around killing people, right? And I think that's what we're talking about, right? Or at least what I'm talking about. I know. I'm talking about when somebody creates that evil character that plays the evil game. I think Baldur's Gate, you can do it. I think what's the other one? Starfield, I play. You can take the evil or even the copacetic path. And I think overall, what I'm trying to portray is those players, I don't think they're happy, so they don't play as long. Right? They get a thrill out of it. They get that dopamine rush or the serotonin rush, whatever. Dopamine, I think. But I don't think they could play for that long. It's against their upbringing, in a way, right? People, I'd like to think people in the world are nicer than we think. And I've been struggling with that because ethics is powerful, right? But it isn't powerful. When did ethics, and this, maybe I should have, maybe I should have did this. Here, let me ask, you know what? I'm going to ask Ron. When or what year did ethics? I'm going to be very general on this one. So, of course, ancient civilization, right? So, ancient Mesopotamia, around 2000 BCE, right? The Code of Ur. Now, later the Code of Hammurabi, circa, what is that, 17, well, Grok says 1754 BCE, provided some of the earliest written legal codes, which included elements which we may think today is principles, right? Ethical principles. In ancient Egypt, the Ma'at, or the concept of truth, balance, and order, harmony, law, morality, and justice, was central to the Egyptian culture as early as like 3000 BCE. As a matter of fact, if I remember the Book of the Dead, or I didn't read it, but the stories that Egyptians, or not the Egyptians themselves, but the stories that were told of the Egyptians, with the Book of the Dead, you had to balance your heart with the feather of truth, I believe it was. So ethics, that back 3000 BC, right? Ancient Greece, we know Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, right? Aristotle came up. I didn't mention this today, but Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is a foundational text. I don't know why I didn't bring that up. Probably because my research was quickened by my breaks today. The Eastern traditions like India, Vedas, which date back to 1500, contain ethical teachings. Buddhism originated around the 6th century BC with Siddhartha Gautama introduced the Eightfold Path, right, which includes ethics. Confucius, around 550 BC, laid down ethical norms of the Analects, focusing on moral behavior, social relationships, and government. So, at a minimum, 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, with just different smatterings of iniquity that we don't know of today, right? We don't really have that understanding, or the written record, I should say. The reason I bring this up is what happens to human societies before that? There were no ethics. So how was behavior tolerant? Which was an acceptable behavior and which was not an acceptable behavior, right? Interesting, right? These are things that I like to research, I like to think about in addition to what I'm telling you, right? And as I've said in the past, and I will continue to say, please do your research. It's fundamental to your own well-being. Question everything. Everything. And if somebody says, don't ask me questions, okay, then you know that person probably is not a good person. Now, there are instances or circumstances where questioning might not be the best thing. When are they? All right, well, let's say you're in an emergency or in the military. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's fine. And then you have emergency situations. We'll cut it short there. So they're asking questions might not be the best. But in any good emergency situation, you've prepped for that emergency situation, I hope. Like in the military, we trained all the time. So when the emergency situation happened, all of our questions were out of the way. We could question during training. Absolutely. That makes sense, right? Question during training. And sometimes you weren't allowed to question during training. But if I were a leader, that's the best time to question. Why are we doing it this way? Because this, and this. All right. A lot of people just want their answers, right? They want their questions answered, and once they have their question answered, if they get really good responses, they will continue on their way, right? They'll do what you ask, right? Because good leaders will explain the situation, and good leaders will seek feedback, not only receive it. So ethics is important for that leader too, right? You don't want to. There's certain aspects of leadership where ethics, let's just say fairness, right? Fairness is a big one. Are you going to treat person A differently than person B? Do you see them as people? Right? I still don't like the fact that they don't allow you to wave. Oh, he did wave. If the developers, if you're listening, if you're watching, please figure out a way for the avatar to wave while running. This game is such a, like, I'm on a timer, right? Why am I gonna stop and wave? And there's some ethical questions, right? The good life, right? Have friends. Does it really matter that I'm doing this? I can let it go, right? Little Buddhist. Like I said, tools in the toolbox. If you really appreciated this episode, give me a like, because this one is tying together the series, and I think for everybody's sake, or not for my sake especially. There we go. I shouldn't say for everybody's sake, but for give me a like if you like the topic as well. I think everybody should learn more about ethics. Believe it or not, lawyers have semesters worth of ethics. I think at least 2 or 3 semesters. I could be wrong. Any of the lawyers out there, let me know. But I know it's at least 1. I would hope it's at least 1. No, I knew lawyers. They've talked about ethics at least once. At least once. So I know in business, I went to get my MBA and such things like that. But in business, we definitely went through ethics, right? Ethics is just important in life. And like I said earlier, you probably don't feel good if you go against your own ethics or the ethics that's acceptable today. It'd be interesting to find out from everybody. So put it in the comments section. Let me know. I think it's an interesting topic, to be sure. Let's see. So I know our chat might be quiet today, but we're still growing. Every one of you is valued. Trust me, every single one of you. I also have 3 other channels. One music channel and two other channels. The one music channel and one comedy channel. I only have one comedy video so far. It didn't do great. That's okay. It's the basically I tried to make the case for lazy, but it was comical. It wasn't meant to actually be serious. And I have 4 music videos now. I have Closer Than I Knew, which is alt rock. And then I have Shadows and Shackles, which is like a blues rock. I have Murmurs of Desire, which is more synth pop, maybe? Electric wave? Yeah, I can't remember what genre that is, but it's really good. It's a great video. It took me a while to get AI to play nice with that video, and I had my share of rewording prompts. So yeah, thank you ChatGPT for helping me do that. My English isn't the best, so yeah, it helped. But those are my channels currently. Go visit them for sure. Like I said, I think music is one of those great unifiers, and it's a cultural endeavor which I want to everybody, and I want to share with everybody. So yeah, I'm an AI advocate for sure, even in my job. And I believe that with AI, and I'll say that you'll hear me say this every 5 minutes, it's a tool in the toolbox. There is no ASI yet, or artificial superintelligence just yet. So I will leverage the collaboration between AI and myself to make great music that has its substance. And one is a funky groove. That's my last one. It's a funky groove. Groove Through Life. That was fun to make, and it's a fun song. Short song. It's only like 2 minutes, 15 seconds. But a lot of fun. Yeah, so if you get an opportunity to check those out, I would highly appreciate it. Put a like there if you like them. You don't have to. But subscribe to my channel if you like the music videos and or this video. And thanks for joining me in this deep dive into ethics and the good life. If you found it insightful, please hit that consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with others who might be interested in exploring these type of questions, and who may see that these types of questions are valid. Maybe it's a validating principle for them. So with that said, let me, next time we'll continue our journey by examining on how the ethical principles can be applied to real-world challenges in leadership and life. Until then, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep striving for a life well lived. I'm Daniel, your host, and I appreciate you spending these hour and a half with me. Stay ethical, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode.
With every step, a lesson learned. From fire's heat to the fields I've turned. The blade and bow, the forge and flame. I sharpen my skills, I play the game. Each day brings a challenge I must face. I train my hands with careful grace. From alchemy's art to the hunter's way, I'll find the strength to seize the day. I carve my path, I walk the line in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. From the herbs I find to the iron I mold, each lesson learned is a story told. The stars above, they guide my hand as I hold my craft. I take my stand in the quiet woods, in the mountains chill. I push myself, I shape my will with each new tool and every lore. I'm stronger now than I was before. I carve my path, I walk the line in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. The road is long, but I won't turn back. The lessons I learned keep me on track. With each new skill, the stronger I grow. In the face of the storm, I let my courage show. I've tasted defeat, I felt the sting, but I rise again with each new spring. For knowledge is power, and wisdom the key. I'm forging my path, I'm breaking free. The skill of survival, the will to thrive in a world where the strong survive. I'll face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready